Hello and welcome everybody to yet another live session on IPMAT. I'm going to solve the 2024 multiple choice questions from the math section of IPMAT IIM Indore 2024 paper. And a quick check whether you are able to hear me, whether I'm visible. The screen might seem a bit wonky because of the lights, but the questions will be clearly visible. But I just want a quick confirmation in chat whether I'm audible and the screen visible with all the lights and jing bang on it. So once I get a confirmation of that, I should be able to go live. And there's a delay of about, I think 10-15 seconds. So even after I speak, it will be 10-15 seconds before it goes live and I get an answer. So I'm just waiting for the response. Okay, I have a response. Can hear you. Thanks, Anisha. So I think the visibility is there. I'm audible. Is the screen visible with a bright light on my poor little image on the screen? I'll put up my hand. So if you can see my hand just popping up, that means the video is also there. Yes. So that means I'm audible, I'm visible, and we are good to go. So I'm here. So then let's begin. Hello everybody. This is Sathya here from IQ Ideas. And I've been doing these series of webinars of solving actual questions from papers. I've done a couple of webinars on the PDEU papers, past year papers. Last week I did a series of 10 questions from IPMAT 2024 paper, top 10 questions, not the 24 paper, but a combination of about 3 or 4 years. But today I'm picking up 11 absolutely sitter questions from IPMAT 2024, just the last year's paper. And by sitter, I mean these questions were ridiculously easy to solve. And as you know, the multiple choice questions of the quantitative aptitude section or the maths section have +4 for a right answer, but -1 for an incorrect one. And if memory serves me right, the cutoff was somewhere around 33 or 35 marks, which means you needed to get about 9 questions correct to score 36. And even if you had 3 questions wrong, you would still have around 33 marks, which was enough to clear the cutoff of this section. I'm going to show you 11 questions. So if you just do this 11 questions right, 11 into 44 marks, absolutely this section is in the bag. So without further ado, let's take a look at those 11 beautiful, easy, ridiculously simple questions, at least some of them, from the 2024 paper. So let's start with the first one. A question from trigonometry, right? Now many students fear trigonometry. They think trigonometry is difficult. But believe me, I used to teach a kid of standard 10 the NCERT material, and this question can be solved by anybody who just knows basic trigonometry from standard 10, the NCERT material. What does this question say? It says the angle of elevation of the top of a pole from a point A on the ground is 30 degrees. Now, as I have been taught by my dad especially, that the moment you start reading the question, put down the values, put down the points that you get on paper. In my case, the screen right now. So I'm going to start constructing this diagram. The angle of elevation of the top of a pole from a point A on the ground is 30 degrees. Now, if you know, the angle of elevation is nothing but this. This is point A. Let's name this as point B and C, and let's take this as 90 degrees. A bit wonky, but 90 degrees because trigonometry, right angle triangles. So the angle of elevation of the top of the pole from point A is 30 degrees, which means this is 30 degrees. Great. The angle of elevation changes to 45 degrees after moving 20 meters towards the base of the pole. So from A, the person moves ahead. Let's say the person reaches here. So the distance covered here is 20 meters. and now the angle of elevation becomes 45 degrees. Okay. Now, what is the height of the pole in meters? Such a simple question. Because I know that it's a right angle triangle, that means B is 90 degrees. If I name this point as D and D is 45, then C also has to be 45 degrees, which means it's an isosceles triangle where two sides are equal, and obviously DB and BC are the equal sides, which means if DB is X, then BC is also X. Okay, that's the question, that's the thing I've got so far. Now what do I have to find out? The height of the pole in meters is equal to what? Okay, so I need to find out the height of the pole, which is X. So X is the height of the pole. X is also the distance that the person is now at the end away from the base of the pole. Brilliant. So I know this is X, this is X. 45 degrees, my work is done getting the values of X. So 30. So I need to adjust the height, the opposite side and the adjacent side. The hypotenuse has no role to play here. I have no value for the hypotenuse. So then which trigonometric ratio combines the opposite and the adjacent? That's tan. So I know tan theta is opposite upon adjacent, which means tan of 30 degrees is equal to opposite, which is X, upon the adjacent, X plus 20. That's it. Now, if you know your trigonometric ratios, then we know for tan 0 is 0, tan 30 is 1 by root 3, tan 45 is 1, tan 60 degrees is root 3, and tan 90 degrees, we won't go there. So I know the value of tan 30 is 1 upon root 3. So this simply tells me 1 upon root 3 is equal to X upon X plus 20. That's it. I solve this expression, I get the value of X. Let's do that. So cross multiplication, X plus 20 is equal to X into root 3, which means if I open up this and bring all the X's on the same side, then X root 3 minus X is equal to 20. So taking X common, root 3 minus 1 is equal to 20. So the value of X is 20 upon root 3 minus 1. Yay! Let's mark 20 upon root 3 minus 1. But how? None of the options are 20 into root 3 minus 1. Then what do we do? Well, absolutely easy. There is no denominator here, right? So in such cases, the denominator root 3 minus 1, what you do is you multiply and divide by the additive inverse, not the additive inverse, but the opposite. So root 3 plus 1, root 3 minus 1. That's what you do. So all I need to do is multiply this by root 3 plus 1 upon root 3 plus 1. So technically the value remains the same, but now I get 20 into root of 3 plus 1 upon a minus b into a plus b, which is a square minus b square. So root 3 square, 3 minus 1 square, 1, which is equal to 2. So 20 into root of 3 plus 1, the whole divided by 3 minus 1, 2. 2 1 jar, 2 10 jar. So my answer becomes 10 times root 3 plus 1. And yes, I have got option D. So 10 times root 3 plus 1 is the answer to this. And believe me, with all the natak that I've been doing, it took some time. But if you are clear with your trigonometric ratios, if you clearly remember the values of sine, cos, tan for 0, 30, 45, 60 and 90 degrees, then under 30 seconds, you will get the answer to this question. And believe me, this is a 10th standard question. So clearly 10 into root 3 plus 1 must be the answer for this, and it is score this, get plus 4, move ahead. Absolutely easy question, fundamental question, and unless you have a fear of trigonometry and you refuse to look at the question, definitely it's going to earn you 4 marks for this particular thing, right? Absolutely easy. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. And remember, all the questions that I'm doing here are sitter questions, right? Absolutely easy questions, which means it tests nothing but your basics. Okay. It's now second question, which was a sitter from the same paper, 2024 IPMAT IIM Indore. If modulus of x plus 1 plus y plus 2 the whole square is equal to 0 and ax minus 3ay is equal to 1, then the value of a is what? Well, seems like a question. But let's think logically. What does a modulus mean? Modulus means any value inside comes out as a positive value. So, doesn't matter if x is positive or negative, x plus 1 modulus will give me a positive value. So, the first term x plus 1 mod is positive, and a square is always a positive number. So, it doesn't matter whether y is positive or negative, y plus 2 the whole square is also a positive number. So, a positive number plus a positive number is 0. And when is that possible? Only if both the terms are equal to 0. Which means that if modulus of x plus 1 is equal to 0 and modulus y plus 2 the whole square is equal to 0, only then the sum of these terms will be 0. So if modulus of x plus 1 is 0, that means x has to be negative 1, right? So only if x is minus 1, minus 1 plus 1 is 0, mod 0 is 0. So I got the value of x. And y plus 2 the whole square is 0, which means y plus 2 is 0, which means the value of y is equal to minus 2. I've got the value of x and y. What do I need to find? The value of a, and I have an expression for a. So ax minus 3ay is equal to 1. So a into minus 1 minus 3a into minus 2 is equal to 1. How difficult to solve this? Minus a plus 6a is equal to 1, or 5a is equal to 1, or a is equal to 1 divided by 5. Option A is 1 divided by 5. And that's the answer to this question. Such a simple question to solve, such an easy question to solve, right? So again, the second question, which was a sitter. I hope you agree with this. If you don't, please put in the comments. But believe me, any IPMAT aspirant, any IPMAT IIM Indore aspirant should know that this is an easy question which can be solved as long as you remember your fundamentals. Great. Okay, I'm just going to go out of screen for a while. I'm going to set my lights. I think there's a shadow there. Is my shadow? Yes, my shadow got eliminated. Okay. Right. So this is an absolutely easy question to solve. Let's move ahead to the third one. Lovely question. Now this question says, for some non-zero real values. Now remember, when we say non-zero, it could mean it is a negative value or a positive value. The only thing is it is not 0. So for some non-zero real values of a, b and c, it is given that modulus of c by a is 4, modulus of a by b is 1 by 3, and b by c, there is no modulus in the third one, b by c is equal to minus 3 by 4. Fair enough. If AC, the product of A and C, is greater than 0, what is the value of B plus C divided by A? B plus C divided by equals what? Sweet question, because again, it is not great in calculations. It's just about understanding fundamentals. So where does the fundamental come into play in this particular question? Let's take a look at that. This is the crucial point. AC is greater than 0. So if A multiplied by C is greater than 0, then if A is positive and C is positive, then it works. Or A is negative and C is also negative. If both the values are negative, then also this condition is satisfied. So that means there are two cases. Either both the values of A and C are positive, or both values of A and C are negative. So we need to work out two cases in this particular example. So far so good. Okay, so let's see how this works out. Let's assume that both A and C are positive. Well, in that case, my first thing, B upon C is minus 3 by 4. So if B upon C is minus 3 by 4 and C is a positive number, can I assume C is equal to 4x? Absolutely. Right? X is a positive integer. So C is 4x and B should be equal to minus 3x. Cool. So because C is positive and 4x and B by C is minus 3 by 4, B should be minus 3x. Great. Now, let us see if B helps me somewhere. A modulus of A by B, if B is minus 3x, then A can be plus or minus x because A upon B is 1 upon 3. But I have assumed A is positive, which means I get the value of A in this case as positive x. Great, I have got everything in terms of x. So B plus C by A. So B plus C upon A is minus 3x plus 4x divided by x. Minus 3x plus 4x is x upon x. My answer is 1. So in the first case, the value of the expression is 1, right? B plus C by A. But remember, there is yet another case which you have to take into consideration. So let's assume that A and C are both negative numbers, right? What happens if both A and C are negative? So again, B upon C is minus 3 by 4, which means if y is a positive integer, then C is equal to minus 4y, correct? So in that case, B will be positive 3y. And if B is positive 3y, then mod A by B is 1 by 3 and B is positive 3 by A can be plus or minus y, but because A is negative, A has to be equal to minus y. Okay, then what is B plus C by A? So B plus C by A in this case is 3y minus 4y upon minus y. 3y minus 4y is minus y upon minus y, and both terms being the same, I again end up with the number 1. So it does not matter whether A, C both are positive or negative. In either case, the value of B plus C by A ends up to be positive 1. And I do have positive 1 as option D. So that's it. If you remember the funda that plus into plus is plus, but minus into minus is also plus, then your work is done, right? You are easily solve this question under 30-40 seconds and get plus 4 marks for this particular example. Easy question. Let's move on to the next one. Looks like a bit of a difficult question, but a bit of risk can be taken to solve this one. It says the difference between the maximum real root and the minimum real root of the equation x square minus y the whole raised to 4 plus x square minus 7 the whole raised to 4 is 16 is what? Power degree 4 equation. How am I going to solve it? Okay, a minus b the whole square is a square minus 2ab plus b square. So a minus b the whole raised to 4. Oh, do you know the identity for a minus b the whole raised to 4? I mean, I know the identity, I can show you, but believe me, we don't need that. What do we need in this question? Let's think a little bit logically. I know that 16 can be written as 2 to the power 4. Okay? And I have the expressions of power 4. So if one of the two is 0, if x square minus 5 is 0, then x square minus 7 should be equal to 2, because then 2 raised to power 4 is 16. Is 16 LHS is equal to RHS. So I can have a case where I say x square minus 5 is equal to 0. So x square is equal to 5. So the value of x is plus or minus root 5, right? That absolutely works for me. The other case, I could have x square minus 7 is equal to 0, right? So in this case, if I say x square minus 7 is equal to, is equal to 0. So x square is equal to 7. So x is equal to plus or minus root 7. Okay. But let's think a little bit about this. If I take x is, let's say, root 5. So the first term becomes 0. But x square 5, 5 minus 7 minus 2 whole raised to 4 is 16. Definitely true. If I take x square is 7, then 7 square minus 4, 40 is 2 raised to 4. And this is 0. Okay. Now I need to find the difference between the maximum real root and the minimum real root of the equation. Now, assuming that the roots are plus root 5, minus root 5, plus root 7 and minus root 7, the largest possible value is root 7, definitely greater than root 5. And the smallest possible value is minus root 7. And all I needed to do was find the difference between these numbers. So root 7 minus negative root 7 is root 7 plus root 7, which is equal to 2 under root 7. And because I have that as an answer, I can mark that and move ahead. Now, this is a slightly risky question, because what if there are some other values of x possible? Because it's not given that x is an integer or something. X is a real number, could be some root of a complex number or point something or fraction. But considering that IPMAT is setting this, IIM Indore is setting this, they definitely want you to think in a particular manner. And if this question is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being very difficult and 10 being absolutely easy, I would say about 6 on 10, right? So although not a clear-cut sitter, it is definitely workable, because once you understand the thought process of the paper setter and once you understand what they expect you to think, this becomes an easy question. In such questions where a even power plus an even power is 0, they want you to work it out considering one of them could be equal to 0 or the other one could be equal to 0. Okay, so this question may be not a absolute 9-10 standard sitter, but for an IPMAT aspirant, it definitely is. Okay, let's move ahead from this question. Lovely question. Time, speed and distance. IPMAT IIM Indore somehow seems to have an affinity for questions of time, speed and distance, right? I've seen so many past papers and every year one or the other version comes out. And let me be honest with you. When I started solving this question, it took me some time because step by step I wrote down a lot of things. But finally, when I saw what was to be answered, I had to beat my head. Itna sara mehnat kai ko kiya, right? It is actually a ridiculously easy question. Let's understand what it is. So this question says that a boat goes 96 kilometers upstream in 8 hours. Excellent. So I know speed is equal to distance traveled upon time taken. Fundamental formula for time, speed and distance. So distance 96 kilometers upstream, time 8 hours upstream. So my speed upstream is distance traveled divided by time taken, which is equal to 12 kilometers per hour. Excellent. And it covers the same distance. So if I have to go for speed downstream, my distance is again 96 and it covers the distance downstream in 6 hours. So 96 divided by 6 is equal to 16 kilometers per hour. Great. So upstream speed is 12 kph, downstream speed is 16 kph. So far so good. Now, on the next day, the boat starts from point A and goes downstream for 1 hour. 1 hour. So if the speed is 12 kilometers per hour or 16 kilometers per hour, that is the distance traveled per hour. So downstream 1 hour means I have gone 16 downstream and then upstream for 1 hour. So upstream is the opposite direction. So minus 12. So that means effectively I have gone 4 kilometers downstream in one round trip lasting 1 hour each. Okay. And it repeats this 4 more times. And to make life simple, they said, which means 5 upstream and 5 downstream's journey. Wow. If per one round of upstream plus downstream is 4 downstream, then 5 rounds of such things should be equal to 20 kilometers downstream. So the boat would be where? So it is definitely downstream. All the options are downstream. But 20 kilometers downstream of A is my answer. Such a simple question. You were not expected to find the individual speed of the boat or the river or anything complicated, right? All you had to do is identify upstream speed individually, downstream speed individually, and then so conveniently they have given you that each motion is 1 hour each. Ridiculously easy question, sitter question. Please, you have to get +4 marks in this. Let's move on to the next one now. Okay. This is a nice question. Easy once you understand it, but it does require you to think a little bit. It says, if the shortest distance of a given point to a given circle is 4 centimeters and the longest distance is 9 centimeters, then the radius of the circle is what? Okay, you might think geometry, mensuration, coordinate geometry, what do I do? Well, let's just use logic for this, right? So let's assume that there is a circle, nice little circle here, right, with center at 0, 0. Brilliant. Now, there is a point. So let's assume that there is a point A here and it is x units away from the edge of the circle. Now, the circle itself, let's assume, has a radius of r. So these distances are r. Now, the shortest distance of the point to the circle is 4. So the shortest distance is the distance between these 2 points, which means I can say x is equal to 4. And the longest distance is 9. So for A, the farthest distance will be the other end of the circle B. So radius plus x. So 2r plus x is equal to, the distance is given as 9 centimeters is equal to 9. So now x is 4. So 2r plus 4 is equal to 9. 2r is equal to 9 minus 4, 5. R is equal to 5 divided by 2, 2.5 centimeters. 2.5 centimeters is option D. Now this is where the beauty of the question lies. If you mark that as the answer, thinking, oh, easy. No, you got it wrong, -1. Because this is IPMAT. Although it might be a sitter question, they still expect you to apply a little bit of thought. There is one more possibility to this question, right? And how did I identify? Because there was an option 2.5, but there was another option 2.5 or 6.5. So that gets your brain cells thinking, is there any other situation possible? And the answer is yes. Consider this scenario, right? Let's assume the same thing, that I have a nice little circle of radius, let us say r, but now my point is inside the circle. My first assumption was the point is outside the circle, but the question doesn't state. So what if the point is inside the circle? So let's assume that this distance away from the edge of the circle is x, shortest distance, and this is the distance away, the farthest distance. So the shortest distance in this case is again 4, but the farthest distance is actually 2r minus x. So 2r minus x is equal to 9. So 2r minus 4 is equal to 9. So 2r is equal to 13, or r is equal to 13 by 2, 6.5. Option A. So although it is a sitter question, but not so obviously easy, right? Because they force you to think. And they have given a clear-cut hint because the options exist. That 2.5 is definitely there, but there is a possibility of having 6.5 as the answer, and that comes when the point lies inside the circle. So because 2.5 and 6.5 are possible, option A definitely has to be my answer to this question, right? Why do I call this question a sitter? Well, because one, they have given you a hint through the options itself, right? Once you catch on to that, you will absolutely identify. And once you identify that there are two possibilities, point without or point within, you will crack this question. There's no great calculation involved in this, but yes, a little bit of critical thinking. So on a difficulty scale, 1 being very difficult and 10 being absolutely easy, because this is a session on sitter questions, I would rate this about 5, 6 on a scale of 10, right? moderately easy, moderately difficult. But remember, IPMAT expects you to think like that. Chalo, let's move on to the next one. Oof. When I came across this question, I was like, why is IPMAT IIM Indore even asking such a ridiculously easy question? And believe me, it's not even like the previous one where you have to think of alternate scenario. It's so simple. What does the question say? It says that in a survey of 500 people, it was found 250 owned four-wheelers but not two, 100 on two-wheelers but not four. Okay, so it's a question of set theory. That means I will create my Venn diagram. Let us say this is the group of four-wheelers, this is the group of two-wheelers. So that means the central area is for both, which means this area is only 4, this is only 2. Okay. So 250 owned 4 but not two-wheeler. So this is 250, great. 100 owned two-wheeler but not 4. So 100 owned two-wheeler but not 4, great. And 100 owned neither 2 nor 4. So that means neither of the two vehicles is outside the set, which means that is 100 lying here. So I do not know how many people own both. Let's assume that to be X. But there are only 4 possibilities. Either you own both, you own neither, you own 4 but not 2, you own 2 but not 4. And the addition of all these categories should be the total number of people, which is so beautifully given to me 500. So that means 250 plus 100 plus 100 plus X. The summation should be equal to 500. So 250 plus 100, 350 plus 100, 450 plus X is 500. That means my value for X has to be option C, that is 50. Do you see how easy it is? And this is like one of the most basic questions of set theory, one of the most basic questions of Venn diagram. In fact, most of the kids might have not even used a pen and paper to solve this. Orally, this can be solved. Believe me, such questions also come. And in the MCQ section where there is a negative marking, right? Please don't fear the IPMAT IIM Indore. There are a handful of such questions which can clearly earn you +4 as long as you don't make a silly mistake. I keep telling my students, in fact, I've been having my IPMAT classes, and every time I solve one of these questions and the students are like, wow, such a simple question. And I say, dear kid, it is not your lack of knowledge which is preventing you from getting the cutoff clearance. It is just your silly mistakes, your lack of attention to detail which is preventing you from clearing the cutoff. Otherwise, believe me, IPMAT IIM Indore, which is supposedly a very tough paper, is not at all tough. Such easy questions to solve. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. What is the next? Ooh, now this is a very fundamental question. It tests your knowledge of basics. And this is a favorite type of question these days in a lot of entrance exams. It simply asks you, what is the greatest number among 2 to the power 300, 3 to the power 200, 4 to the power 100, and 2 to the power 100 plus 3 to the power 100? Oh, how do I solve this? Don't worry. Let me tell you. Okay. So, let me write these numbers. 2 to the power 300. Great. 3 to the power 200. Okay. 4 to the power 100. Now, 2 and 4. 4 is 2 square. So, 4 to the power 100 can be 2 square to the power 100, which is 2 to the power 200. And obviously, 2 to the power 100 is less than this. So, immediately I cancel out. This is not my answer. Okay. And the last is 2 to the power 100 plus 3 to the power 100. Now, let's think logically. In this case, I'm adding 3 to the power 100 with 2 to the power 100. In this case, I'm multiplying 3 to the power 100 with 3 to the power 100. 3 power 200 can be written as 3 into raised to 100 into 3 raised to 100. So, would adding 2 to the power 100 make it larger, or multiplying by 3 to the power 100 make it larger? Obviously, the multiplication with a larger number makes it larger. So this also gets eliminated. Two options gone. So now I just need to compare between, is it 2 to the power 300 or 3 to the power 200? If my bases were same, I could compare the powers and get the answer. If my powers were same, I could compare the bases and get the answer. Now, making 2 and 3 same is difficult. Let's see if I can make the powers same. So 2 to the power 300 can be written as 2 cube raised to 100. 3 power 200 can be written as 3 square raised to 100. So the power is same. So 2 cube is 8 to the power 100. 3 square is 9 to the power 100. When the powers are same, obviously the larger base gives the larger number. So 3 to the power 100 is the largest number from the 4 given ones. It took me so long to explain this question, but in the exam, 15-20 seconds, your thought process runs like lightning, you get an answer to this. Absolutely easy question. Lovely question, right? And we are 8 questions down, and if you got almost all of them correct, you are at 8 4 32 marks, just 1 or 2 marks away from clearing the cutoff, and we still have got 3 more questions to solve. Sitters from the 2024 paper. Let's take a look at them. Okay. My next one. Ooh, lovely question. Combinatorics. Teachers love giving you names of the chapters which sound impressive so that it seems, such a difficult question. Combinatorics, permutation combination. And if you know the basics of permutation combination, this question is ridiculously easy. It says the number of values of x for which 17 minus x, see 3x plus 1 is defined as an integer is what? All you need to do in this question is understand what that notation means, right? So a quick tutorial on that notation, because the solution is quick. So when I say NCR or NCR, it means out of n options, I am selecting R options. If I've got 3 tickets and I have to select 2 friends to whom I can hand 1 ticket each, then the ways in which I can do it is 3C2. That's it. So both the N and the R have to be integers. You cannot select from 4.3 options or root 7 options. So both the N and the R are perfect integers. In fact, non-negative integers. You can select 0 items. So N and R are either 0 or a positive number. Great. Second, I cannot select more items from fewer options, which means the value of N has to be greater than or equal to R. I can select 3 items out of 4. I can select 4 items out of 4. I can select 0 items out of 4. I cannot select more than 4 items from a total kitty of 4 items. So once I know that, I have to know 17 minus x must be greater than or equal to 3x plus 1. So now let's solve this inequality. So if I take the 3x's on both the sides, I get 3x plus x here and I get 17 minus 1. Let's flip this. So 4x is less than or equal to 16. X is less than or equal to 4. That's one funda I have got. X is less than or equal to 4. Now, I also know that 3x plus 1, that is the number of choices to be made, must be greater than or equal to 0. So, if I say 3x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 0, then 3x is greater than or equal to minus 1, x is greater than or equal to minus 1 by 3. And because I know these values have to be integral numbers, the first integer, the first non-negative integer after minus 1 by 3 is 0. So the least value of x is 0. And I know x is an integer where x is greater than or equal to 0 and x is less than or equal to 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 of these numbers satisfy my inequality. 5 of these numbers, sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 of these numbers satisfy my inequality. And what's the question? The number of values of x for which blah blah is defined as an integer. It's an integer. So that means for x is 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4, the thing is done. All you had to do was understand what is that notation. If you have never done permutation combination, okay, this question is out of reach. But IPM aspirants definitely have done permutation combination. So there only the logic has to be used, that I cannot select more number of items from fewer options, which means n has to be greater than or equal to c. And second, I cannot select less than 0 options, so the minimum value of c is 0. And I cannot select non-integral values. I cannot select in decimal points or fractions. That's it. Once you understand these basic fundas, this question becomes so easy to crack. Shall we move on to the next one? Absolutely yes. Okay. Now this is a very, very interesting question. Sitter, because it doesn't involve too much of heavy duty formula calculation, but it is a bit lengthy. But if you have enough time, and believe me, the average time that you get per problem, assuming every problem is allotted the same time, is 3.5 to 4 minutes. Assuming you need to solve 10 questions, you got 40 minutes for the section. So on an average, 4 minutes per question. This can be done in less than half of that time. So let's look at the question. It says, a fruit seller has a certain number of apples, bananas and oranges at the start of the day. Great. The number of bananas was 10 more than the number of apples. So I start with, let me assume that the number of apples that I have is x. So the number of bananas that I will have is 10 more than the number of apples. So that is equal to x plus 10. Great. How many oranges? I don't know. So let's simply assume that the number of oranges is equal to y. Now it says the total number of bananas and apples was a multiple of 11. So x must be a multiple of 11. Okay, that's the fact that we have got so far. Let's move ahead. Now, she was able to sell 70% of the apples. So she sold 70 by 100 of x, 60% of the bananas. So 60 by 100 of x plus 10 and 50% of the oranges plus 50% of the. If she was able to sell 55% of the fruits she had at the start of the day. So this is nothing but 55% of the total number of fruits. So x plus 10 plus y. So 2x plus 10 plus y. Okay. So even before I go ahead, let's simplify this. 100 is a common denominator to everything. So I can get rid of that. Let's get rid of that, right? I don't need the 100 in this particular equation. So I get 70x plus 60x, 130x plus 60 into 10, 600 plus 50y, great, is equal to 55 into 2x, 110x plus 55 into 10, 550 plus 55y. Okay, let's simplify this. 130x and 110x. So bringing this and subtracting, I get 20x plus 50y and 55y. Bringing 55y on the other side, minus 5y. 600 plus bringing 550 on this side, minus 50. Plus 50 is equal to 0. So 20x minus 5y plus 50 should be equal to 0. Great. Now, what is the minimum number of oranges that she had at the start of the day? Okay. So let's first simplify this expression further. It's all divisible by 5. So I get 4x minus y plus divided by 10 is equal to 0. I get this expression. let's make some space here. I've got one expression here that 4x minus y plus 10 is equal to 0. I've also got another expression that 2x plus 10 is equal to 11n. Okay, now I need to find out the minimum number of oranges that she had in that day, which means from this expression I can say that y is equal to 4x plus 10 and options are for y. Now I will use the options. Let's say that the value of y is 220, option 1. So if y is 220, then 220 minus 10, 210, 4x is equal to 210, so x is equal to something, point something. But x is the number of an object, cannot be a decimal point. So 220 is definitely not my answer. And because this was an even number, if I try with 180 as well, then 180 is equal to 4x plus 10. Then 4x is equal to 170. X again comes in decimal point, cannot be my answer, gets eliminated. So now I'm left with 190 and 210 and I need the minimum number of oranges. So let's take the smaller of the two numbers, 190. So if I say 190 is equal to 4x plus 10, then I get 4x is equal to 180, which means x is equal to 45. But how do I verify whether x can be 45? Remember, 2x plus 10 has to be a multiple of 11, right? So if x is equal to 45, 45 into 290 plus 10, 100 does not give me the answer. So then I can mark 210, but let's just confirm. So if I say 210 is equal to 4x plus 10, then 210 minus 10, 4x is equal to 200, x is equal to 50, and 52 is 100 plus 10 is 110, which is a multiple of 11. So 210 is the answer that I'm looking for. A bit long question, but it is not difficult at all. And if you're comfortable with linear equations, then all you had to do was use the options to crack this particular question, right? Great one, easy one. And now let's move on to the 11th question from the same paper. A standard IIM Indore type question. It says the number of real solutions of the equation x square minus 10 modulus of x minus 56 is 0. The moment I look at the expression modulus, my first thought, consider the positive case, consider the negative case. That's it. So, modulus of x. So, one case x is greater than 0, one case x is less than 0. Now, let's take x as a positive number, greater than 0. So, positive x, so the equation becomes x square minus 10x minus 56 is 0. Now, how do I split the middle term? So, 56 is 28 2s are, which is 15 4s are, 14 and 4 is 10. Great. So, x square minus 14x plus 4x minus 56 is 0. So, x into x minus 14 plus 4 into x minus 14 is equal to 0. So, x minus 14 into x plus 4 is equal to 0. So, x is equal to 14 or x is equal to minus 4. So, I got two values of x. No, I did not. Remember, I have started with the assumption x is greater than 0. So, x cannot be negative 4. So, in this case, I get only one value, x is equal to 14. Now, let's work out the other part, x is less than 0. So, if x is less than 0, then x is negative. So, x square minus 10 into minus x minus 56 is 0. So, x square plus 10x minus 56 is 0. I already know 14 and 4. So x square plus 14x minus 4x minus 56 is equal to 0. So x into x plus 14 minus 4 into x plus 14 is equal to 0. So x plus 14 into x minus 4 is equal to 0, which means x is equal to negative 14 or x is equal to positive 4. But x is less than 0 is my assumption. So x cannot be a positive number, which means again I have only one possibility in this case. So x is either positive 14 or negative 14. What is my question? The number of real solutions. So two possible solutions, plus 14 or minus 14. Right? The trick here was once you get that for modulus, you have to take both the positive and the negative numbers. You work out the two equations, but remember, even from the two possible values of x on each side, only one of them is possible because of the assumption. When x is greater than 0, minus 4 is out. When x is less than 0, then positive 4 is out. So the number of real solutions is actually only 2. Don't be misled into marking 4 as the answer. Once you keep that fundamental in mind, you will absolutely get the real answer to this particular question. So, my dear friends, those were the 11 questions of IPMAT IIM Indore 2024 paper, which I had to solve today. Right? As you can see, getting these 11 questions right would have scored you 11 into 4, 44 marks. Even if you got a few of them wrong, but somehow managed to score about, let us say, 33, 35, which I believe was the cutoff, you would have comfortably breezed through this section. Check out my other videos of IPMAT 2024 and past year papers to see how you could crack even the short answer questions from this particular paper. And clearing this cutoff would have been absolutely easy. Believe me when I say that the IPMAT IIM Indore paper is not a tough one. In fact, it tests you on your fundamental knowledge. It does not test your prowess of calculations or formulae, but how well do you remember facts such as modulus means both positive negative, or square of a number is always positive, but the root can be both positive and negative. So if you remember these fundamentals, like when you say a number is p upon q, right? A fraction is represented as p upon q. Do you always remember to note that the fraction is p upon q, where q is not equal to 0 because denominator can be 0? It is these small things for which we used to lose half a mark in step marking. These are the facts which are tested. Do you remember these small things? And if you keep your eye on such fundamentals, IPMAT IIM Indore is easy to crack. So with that, I bring my session of 11 sitter questions from the 2024 IPMAT IIM Indore paper to an end. If you have any queries, please do post them in the comments below. I keep regularly checking them. I can answer them. You can contact me on social media. I'm there on Instagram. I'm there on YouTube, right? You can send me a DM. At IQ Ideas, we have started our crash batches for the preparation of IPMAT 2025. This preparation will enable you to not only crack the IPMAT 2025 paper, but also be eligible for admissions to colleges like Nirma University in Ahmedabad, IIM Ranchi, IIM Amritsar, which take the score of the IPMAT Indore. And this preparation is good enough for you to crack the NPAT for Narsi Monji, IPMAT conducted by IIM Rohtak, the JIPMAT conducted by the NTA for Jammu and Bodh Gaya, so on and so forth. So if you have any queries, please post them. Do post your comments if you think there is an easier solution to any of these questions, or if there is any comment which you want to make regarding any of these solutions. And if you want me to post more videos on more such question papers, again, get in touch with me, post your comments, and see you in the next live section. So till then, wish you all the best. Have a good day.